welcome back to Headbangers podcast. I'm here with Nathan. Join us, Hellripper. How are you doing? How's life been recently?
Thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's been not too bad recently. The weather's been so-so, but other than that, yeah, things have been the same for a while now with everything going on. So, what about you guys?
Yeah, it's been all right.
I think it's just the same as everybody else, to be honest. There's not really much to say. Nothing's happened really, but
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I think it's been interesting though, because like no matter who you ask, everyone's kind of got the same shit going on.
yeah.
Yeah. What you been up to? I've just been in my house. Literally.
Yeah.
Sure. But yeah, you released an amazing album.
Thank you.
Poisons. Yeah, me and Nathan have been repping that out. So I was asked, what was it like going into the process of making that then, and what are the pros and cons of being a one-man band? I imagine obviously it's got its perks, but then challenges as well. So talk me through it.
Yeah. The process of going into it, I can't actually remember. It was a while ago now. I recorded it. I think I started recording it in the summer of 2019. So yeah, it's almost 2 years ago since I got going with it. I think it was just the same as usual, just kind of coming up with stuff by myself at home, like just piecing together things over a period of time, writing riffs and all that. And yeah, I mean, nothing really special there. But yeah, the perks of being a one-man band, I guess, is that I can just do things whenever I want. I don't need to rely on other guys to like get together, rely on their schedules and stuff to be free at the same time, be available. And of course, it means I don't have to like compromise the music. I can just use. It's like kind of like my vision, like the whole thing, which of course can be seen as a disadvantage because of course sometimes other people can have amazing ideas, like they can benefit you greatly, but yeah, other perks just that I can work whenever I want as well. Like if I want to have a break for ages, for however long, I can do that without like disrupting anything or annoying anyone else, and I can kind of just do things at my own pace at home. So I think that's the main advantages. And yeah, like I said, the downsides, aside from maybe like it would be maybe beneficial to like bounce ideas off people and get collaboration. I think the most difficult thing is finding the time to do everything. Since I'm in charge of everything, so I've got to deal with the writing and recording of the music, and I do the mixing. Then you've got all the emails to answer, social media, messages, comments, looking for like stuff to do with shows, all the merch side of things, sending the merch. It all kind of adds up. So I think probably the hardest thing, but I enjoy it anyway, is the finding the time to do everything.
Well, I can imagine you get a lot of creative freedom as well, because listen to the album. It sounds like a touch of Judas Priest, a bit of Venom, bit of Slayer in there. Like there's a lot going on really. So I imagine that process. You might get someone in the band, if you were with more people, like, oh no, I don't like that influence there. Let's not put that in there. But yeah, there's all the room to breathe of just sort of exploring all your musical elements, and I think sometimes that can allow you to experiment a lot more.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, I guess it would go the other way as well. Like if I wanted to put something in, let's say like a Venom part, for example, and the other people didn't like it, yeah, then you've got like your kind of thingy, and it goes the other way. It's just agreeing with people on everything musically. Yeah, everything can be seen as like an advantage and a disadvantage, but yeah, the way that I do things, I've gotten used to it over the years, and I think I prefer working like this as opposed to working in a full band context. So yeah, I much prefer how I do things.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, like what Brad said, there's like little influences, like I can see influences of thrash, early death metal, Venom and stuff like that. Like, what sort of your approach to writing your music, considering the amount of influences that you put into it? How do you go, okay, I want this bit here, like a little influence here, a little influence there. How do you actually condense them all down?
Yeah, I think it just kind of happens as you kind of go on. Like if I come up with a riff, for example, it naturally you might just hear, oh, there should be a thrash, like mosh part here, or oh, there should be a solo here that sounds like Merciful Fate or something. I'm not sure. Like, I don't really put too much like thought into it in that respect. It just kind of whatever happens really. And yeah, the more influences and different inspirations and stuff like that, I guess, can give you a more unique sound, or you can go more places with it, as opposed to being like one-dimensional, or at least I hope so. So yeah, it just kind of comes naturally, like trying to put in just everything that I like, and if it works, of course, there's some things that don't work. Like you can't put in like a crazy like slam breakdown into the middle of like a short punk song. Like, I mean, you could, but I haven't found a way to like make that kind of thing work. So yeah.
I think it sounds like the 80s metal album that was never made at that time, you know what I mean? But obviously, if you go a bit more beyond that, because obviously your black metal style vocals wasn't something that was then. So I think it's like the best part of the 80s mixed in with like the better parts of metal to come as well. So it's interesting. Like, obviously, like a lot of people coin the term black and roll to like describe certain bands, which I do think you guys have got, you've got that sort of influence. Would you say that's like a stupid term to use, or would you not mind being classed under that term?
Yeah, I don't mind being classed as anything really. People have called the band everything: black and roll, thrash metal, speed metal, metal punk, black speed, black thrash. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm not too bothered about what you refer to it as. But yeah, I mean, black and roll is a term that I would use to describe the band as well. It's definitely got that sort of sound to it. It's got the rock and roll kind of influence of bands like Venom and all that, and then it's got the aesthetic, the lyrical themes and stuff from like black metal, like. So yeah, it makes sense, and yeah, I don't think. I mean, yeah, it is. It's just a description, I guess. I think it's as good as any.
I think it's good as well when like people can't decide what to class you as. I think it means that your music's more than just confined to one part of metal, as opposed to like okay, you're this and that's all you're gonna be. Like there's so much going into it, which is good. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I absolutely love as well is like what Brad kind of touched up on, like your black metal style vocals, like the high pitched sort of screams. Like, who would you say is the vocalist that kind of influences you the most when it comes to vocals?
The high pitch kind of stuff, that kind of comes. I think it fits the music better than my lower vocals for the most part, and the higher vocals are easier for me to do. So I think that's why I use them. I'm more influenced by like the lower vocals. Like my favorites are, I mean, Corpse Grinder is obviously one of the best. Michael Ackerfeld's a big influence as well. And then like kind of guys that do like kind of shouting, like Tom Arias, Tom Angel Ripper from Sodom, Creator, Toxic Holocaust, Venom, like all the shouted kind of vocals. So I kind of take influence from all sorts of vocal styles. But yeah, like I said, the higher stuff I think fits better for some reason. I don't know why. At first when I was recording like the first EP, I didn't know what I was doing. Like I'd never done vocals before. The first time I was really doing vocals was like the recording, and I couldn't get it to sound right. I was trying to do these low vocals, and the first song on the first EP, Flesh Ripper, that's got the low vocal style, that's got the kind of a more, I can't remember what I was going for. I was going for something like Celtic Frost or something, and it's kind of more death growl type stuff. But the rest of the songs I spent ages on, like trying to kind of do stuff, and eventually settled on the high vocals and figured out that's what works best for me. So yeah, it's basically just trial and error to see, what worked, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I'm personally like complete opposite to that. When I do vocals, it's always I lean towards the lows.
Okay.
The high vocals, I just think my technique's complete shite. So because it always blows out my voice. Like
It's same with me. When I'm doing the lower vocals, tends to mess my voice more as well. So yeah, exact opposite problem.
yeah,
Which is interesting.
yeah. I always get like when I do highs, I always have to have like at least like 2 pints of water next to me because like I literally feel like I remember once with my band I was like tracking vocals for like 6 hours straight, and the engineer kept going, oh, do higher, do higher, do higher, do higher. And I got to the point where I was like, mate, if you make me do higher, there's something gonna come out my throat. Like I'm gonna damage some shit.
Yeah, that's again, that's another advantage of the one man band thing. Since I'm doing everything at home, I don't need to worry about like getting things done in a certain time frame or whatever. I can choose to stop when I'm feeling things going wrong, which is lucky, I guess, because I have blown out my voice a few times doing stuff, mainly in the early days.
Mm.
If you listen to the earlier Hellripper stuff, like the vocal sound is I would say significantly different. I had over time I've developed a technique. I think I don't know what the technique is, but it doesn't hurt anymore. But at the start, I was kind of just like making noise, shouting and stuff. And on the early recordings, I did used to like struggle and blow out my voice quite a bit. So yeah, I'm lucky I found a technique to avoid that. Otherwise, I would not be doing vocals.
Quite interesting, I find as well, because like it's like people find the vocal style that fits them. Like they're not like, right, okay, I'm gonna learn to do false chords and that's gonna be me. Like you eventually just mold into what you almost like born to do. It's kind of like Harry Potter. The one chooses the wizard, the vocal style chooses the singer. So it's never really set out how you imagine it to be, but then it works.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no idea like what I'm doing, but sometimes I can feel I'm doing it correctly. Sometimes I can feel I'm not doing it correctly, and I'm like to adjust. I think I don't know if you feel it as well, but I think it's more difficult when recording than playing live. I feel like more like conscious of what I'm doing when recording.
I get you so well. It's because you can hear yourself back. So like when I go to band practice, I project more because I'm trying to hear myself over the instruments. But when I've got my headphones on, I can hear myself. I'm like, that sounds shit, and I'm just kind of like constantly going, I'll do this, I'll do that. I'm panicking about it.
Yeah.
It's like when I went to the studio, I told him, turn me right down, turn everything else up. And he went, why? I was like, just do it. And he did it, and I was like, hey, I just focus on trying to project over the actual sound rather than hearing myself back. I know I'm hitting it all right, so
yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know what it is. I just feel like more self-conscious when I'm recording. So yeah, it takes a few takes to get things right. But when I go and do it live, like I can do it like a lot better than like with almost like no struggle or whatever. So yeah, it's a weird one, and I don't know how you feel about like actually doing the recording of vocals. I absolutely hate it.
I quite like it. I like it because the band I'm in at the minute, we've been a band for about almost 2 years. and we've been kind of like fighting to make this a work sort of thing, because we've tried like loads of different shit and it's always kind of fell flat, and then we finally got to a point where we are actually recording stuff.
Yeah.
So I like it from that standpoint, but like actually recording vocals, it just takes a lot out of you, because at the end you're just physically exhausted.
Yeah, that's why it's my least favorite part. I mean, on the one hand, it's my least favorite because, like, you've got to, it takes a lot out of you, and if I'm not in the mood, or if I'm feeling a bit ill, my throat's a bit sore, then I'm like, oh, I've got to record vocals. Oh, it's gonna be like, it's gonna take a lot out of me. I can't be bothered. But at the same time, it's usually like one of the last bits that you record, so you can hear like the almost finished song.
Yeah.
Vocals, and when you have vocals in a song, or at least my songs, it sounds completely different to like the instrumental. Like you can hear it like take shape, and it actually sounds like a song. It sounds listenable.
Yeah. Well, I've always thought that as well, because like people, I think a lot of people that like don't really write music or anything like that don't understand how much a track changes the minute you do vocals. Like when you've done guitars and drums, you're just like, yeah, it's a half a song essentially, and then when you do vocals, you sit there and go, it's fucking done. Like it changes it dramatically.
Yeah, a lot of my my favorite Hellripper songs, for example, the song on the first album called Demdike, that was my least favorite song on the album. Like I recorded the instrumental tracks and stuff, and I was considering leaving it off the album, but I decided to record the vocals for it anyway. And yeah, it's ended up being probably one of my favorite songs, and a lot of people, most people that like that album, that seems to be their favorite song. And I'm like, yeah, I almost left it off the album because it just sounds totally different, like with the vocals like on top and playing with the instruments and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it is crazy because like there's been I know loads of people that have done that where they've been like, hey, I'm not too keen on this, let's just do it anyway, and it's ended up being absolutely incredible when they've done the vocals.
Yeah. It seems to be the vocals, isn't it, that like people are most critical on, or like they get a bit self-conscious about, as opposed to like the guitars and the drums. Like I think people will definitely be more forgiving with that. But yes, definitely self-critical when it comes to vocals, from what I can see.
Yeah, I end up doing so many takes on vocals, like because I'll hear like the slightest whatever, and I'll show it to someone. They'll be like, "Which take out of these 4 or whatever is the best?" And they're like, "I cannot hear a difference at all." I'm like, "Oh, at the very last millisecond, I go a tiny bit higher or something, and they're like, "No, you can't hear that." And I'm like, "Oh no, it ruins the song if I." Nah. So I'm like, yeah, it's way longer than I would like it to, because I'm like picking out of all these like tracks and different versions and shit.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm really, because if I hear one thing I've done wrong, I'm like, that's it, redo the entire thing.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, it annoys me if I know I could have done better, even if it's a second. Even if it's a second, it's like, let's redo that. And I think my theory on it is that I think when it comes to vocals, like a lot of musicians are way more critical of themselves on vocals because it's actually your body that you're using as the instrument. So you know if you've done something wrong. Whereas like with guitar and drums, as long as you know like a lot about music theory and stuff like, even if you don't know a lot about music theory, you know how that instrument's going to play.
Yeah.
And I think because it being your body, it's very unpredictable. So like you could really fuck some up and then be like, I know I fucked some up, but no one would be like, no, it sounds fine.
Yeah.
You're like, I know it could be different. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally agree with it. Be there. And again, coming back to the exact same point I just made a little while ago, that's also one of the bad parts about being a solo project, because I can because I've got as much time as I want and I can do things an unlimited amount of times, especially when it comes to vocals. I think half of the overall recording time is probably me doing vocals, because I'm like constantly going back to change things, like, oh, I'm not happy with how this sounds and stuff. And yeah, I think I'd get a lot more done if I didn't have like unlimited time.
Yeah.
That's the downside to the advantage.
I think the upside to that though is you get to get the most polished product at the end of it.
True. Yeah.
Absolutely. So back to the Fair Poisons. How would you describe the lyrical theme to it? Like, you know, if you to describe the concept to someone that hasn't listened to it before.
So overall, I mean, there's not like a one specific theme, but I guess like kind of witchcraft, the occult, and that kind of thing. There's a couple songs based on like witch trials in France and witchcraft in France. There's a song based on like a little like a tale, a legend, whatever, a urban legend, whatever you would call it, from the 50s in Scotland about a vampire killing kids in a graveyard. And
Nice.
but I mean, yeah, overall, it's kind of deals with like witchcraft, the occult, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, the stuff. There's like the two sides of the lyrical themes that I usually do with Hellripper. There's the kind of fun horror type stuff, like you know what I mean, like a horror film type thing, like with like a little story about like Satan and or like slasher type stuff. And then you've got the other side, which is the more serious kind of stuff, I would say, like in terms of my lyrical content, where it's like based on like true stuff, like true things that have happened, like true events, such as that. Because like that kind of stuff interests me, like especially back in the past, how like beliefs and things have shaped societies, and like the witch trials, for example, just like people could just accuse people of being witches, you'd get burned, everyone was terrified, and all that kind of stuff. And like shaped,
crazy.
Like
crazy
shaped
time.
So you've got the kind of that kind of stuff, and the more fun horror type stuff, like so that's like the two sides of the Hellripper lyric.
Yeah, I always find it interesting, just like how people got accused for the smallest things, and then like when they used to try and drown them as well, didn't they? Is it if they floated, they were a witch?
Yeah, if they floated to the back to the top, they were witches. But if they sank, they weren't witches.
Yeah,
it's like, why don't you do not a better way?
It's just some stuff's just crazy. Like, yeah.
Got you interested in like the all witch trials and the occult and all those sort of themes?
Sorry, what was it?
What like got you interested in like the occult and witchcraft and all those old tales and stuff?
I'm not too sure. I think it just kind of interests me. I think being into metal and all that, you see these bands are singing about this type of stuff and singing about evil and Satan and whatever. So like that. So yeah, like you're kind of exposed to that if you listen to any sort of metal music, I guess. And it just like kind of interested me, like reading about this type of stuff and how crazy things were, how it like I said, how it like shaped societies, how like people's beliefs just like completely like shaped everything, and how like everyone's actions were affected by these things and all that kind of stuff, who was in charge and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, I think it's just interesting when you
it's very polarizing, isn't it? Could like when you compare it to today's society, just how people used to be, and just all this sort of paranoid actions of just condemning someone just for looking the wrong way or something.
I mean, it's just, and again, I think those themes and stuff fit with the kind of music as well. So, that's like the main reason I use these kind of lyrics as well, like because it fits the music.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that time period's crazy. I think it's weird how some of the beliefs are still around today. Like, like no matter what hotel you go to, there's not a 13th floor. Like, because a lot of people find it an unlucky number, and it's like, what? There's like never any it'd be like a 16-story hotel, and it's like 13th floor. It just goes straight from 12 to 14. You know what I mean? Like, did you know how they used to trial thieves back then? One trial that you used to use for thieves.
No.
It was called trial by cake, and what they'd do is they'd make a cake, yeah, let it age for I think like 4 days or something like that, make it really dry. If you choked to death on the cake, you was a thief. That's literally how they used to do it. They used to be like, right, bring out the fucking cake. And if you choked, apparently it was a really fucking dry cake. Like it was already like a dry cake anyway, and then they make it even drier by aging it.
Was it like a nice cake either? You know what I mean? Was it like a Victoria sponge or something?
I imagine if you someone that like didn't have any money back then, and you were like fucking poor as shit. I imagine the trial by cake was like a fingers crossed sort of thing. It's like, even if I die, at least I'm eating some fucking cake, man.
But yeah, I don't imagine they baked like a luxury cake for them just to choke them with.
Yeah, no, literally, that is actually how they used to do it. It used to be, if you choked on the cake, you are a thief, or you're guilty of whatever crime you committed. And it's such a stupid fucking way of figuring that shit out. It's like, what sort of made you want to start Hellripper? What was like the story behind Hellripper?
Yeah, it was. I'd been writing songs for a little while, and I wanted to do this kind of stuff. I was into a lot of bands like Toxic Holocaust, Venom, Bathory, all that kind of stuff, Sodom and all that. And at the time, like I wasn't really involved with like my local scene. I was too young to have gone to a lot of the venues, so I wasn't really involved in the local scene. I didn't really know many people in the scene, so I didn't know anyone else that like really played an instrument or that was into similar music, like was into black thrash or whatever. So rather than like wait or whatever, because I'd tried to find bands before, and obviously it's a nightmare to find a drummer.
Don't even get me started. It's such a ball ache.
Every band has that problem. Like, it takes you 50 years to find a drummer or whatever. So yeah, I'd gone through that for a while. Like me and a couple of friends had spent a couple of years like looking for a drummer. But yeah, I ended up deciding just to do it myself, because if I kept waiting, then nothing would happen, most likely. So I thought I was interested in learning how to record and mix by myself as well. So I thought if I start Hellripper, I can also practice like my recording and mixing skills. And so yeah, that's just what I did. I thought I'd write a few songs, record them myself, and put them out on YouTube. I actually recorded most of an EP a couple of years before the first Hellripper EP was released. And it was kind of a more thrash style thing. It was more, it's kind of like Agent Orange era Sodom, more kind of like straightforward thrash. But yeah, the recording quality, I wasn't really happy, and I thought the songs weren't so good. So I kind of like, I got rid of all that and spent the next year or so like improving my skills and rewriting the songs, writing better songs and stuff. So yeah, it was basically just because I couldn't find people to play with that I decided to do it as a solo project.
Yeah, I imagine that became easy because when you go on tour and stuff, or you play gigs, like was it easy to like find members once you were already established as a solo project?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I got involved in the scene like around the time I released the first Hellripper EP, so I knew more people by then. And yeah, there was a couple of my friends were fine to play live shows with me shortly after. So it was like the next year. So a couple of my friends joined the live band, and yeah, there's been quite a few different live members over the years. But yeah, it's been easier than I thought it would be to get members, because I was anticipating it being horrible, especially because I live like in a remote place. I live like at the very like in the Highlands, so I thought it would be difficult because I assumed like the best thing to do would be having everyone in the same city and stuff. But now we're based in 4 cities throughout the UK, so like each member's in a different place. So yeah, it's not actually as difficult as I thought that would be.
Absolutely.
As long as everyone like knows their parts like separately and stuff, we get together and just kind of tighten things up and all that.
That's good. Yeah, one thing that I really like about your Hellripper is just like your social media presence. Like, you know, you pay a lot of attention to your brand and your symbology, and also just your fan engagement. So like, what would you say going into that is how you go about processing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel very like grateful, very lucky that I've got people that are supporting the band and supporting me. So it's always cool to see someone like wearing a shirt or with a LP or whatever, and it's cool to like share them like as a little like a thank you to them, to people that help the band like get where it is really. And yeah, I do like to engage with like people on social media. It's at first because I never played live shows and I had no intention of like playing live shows. Social media was really the only method of promotion that I had.
Yeah.
Well, that I could see. So yeah, I decided to kind of start using social media more, see how I could utilize that to kind of make up for the fact that the band would never play live. But yeah, and I still think social media is like the best form of promotion you can get.
That is,
You can reach so many people. You can talk to so many people that can't come to live shows. Like you can get a global reach and things. And yeah, I like to the people that support the band. I like to get their feedback and stuff. Like see what they say. And see like what they're interested in with Hellripper and stuff. Like they'll ask for like specific types of merch and stuff that I hadn't considered like printing or whatever. So yeah, like having the fans like actively like involved is like a really good thing, I think. And it's yeah, I mean they support the band, they help the band grow. So yeah, I'm just like very grateful, and it's like a way of kind of showing my appreciation for all that and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's great to see how humble you are. You know, like you just engage with your fans so much. Like, you know, every post that you do is like always someone like wearing your t-shirt, and yeah, it's good to see. I think lots of bands need to do that more. Just, you know, actually show appreciation for the fans, because I think it goes a lot more of a way than just someone saying like, you know, one post every 2 years something, say, yeah, we appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Be like, you know, you actively showing, you know, including the fans in your posts is really good.
Yeah, I think again, I guess it depends on like what kind of band you are or what you kind of want to like present yourself as. If you want to be like, you know, like mysterious, no one knows your identity and all that kind of stuff, then maybe it doesn't work to like engage with fans and like you want to appear like mysterious and whatever. But yeah, with Hellripper, like I don't really have a character or anything. Like it's just kind of me doing it. So yeah, like I'm a music fan as much as anyone else. So like I like to recommend music that I like to people that might not know of like similar bands or whatever. So I like to help people discover bands. They also suggest bands for me that I might like and stuff. Like there's a Hellripper group page on Facebook that I created. It's more of a like a everyone can kind of discuss that kind of stuff and what their favorite albums are, and people recommend albums that are like that people that like Hellripper might be into and stuff. So it's it's cool to have like a little community of like people like supporting each other, helping each other, like recommending shit to each other and all that kind of stuff. I just think it's a cool thing.
I like how you include the goat as well as like the symbol and putting like the emoji. You should do like as a merch idea, just include a package so you buy like a vinyl or a CD off you, and you get to like, you know, when you rent a goat and you like sponsor a goat or something.
Well,
It's got the extra mile.
I have considered doing stuff like that as well.
Have you really?
Yeah, yeah, like just random stuff like that to see like what would be cool, like donating to like goat charities and stuff, yeah, it's
a good idea.
Yeah, the goat thing was kind of like an accident, really, and it's just kind of became the mascot or the brand of Hellripper. Originally, I got the Hellripper Scotland, like which has now become like kind of the logo for Hellripper. I got that done just because I wanted to do like a limited amount of shirts with that design as kind of like a tribute to Motorhead, you know, their Motorhead England thing. And yeah, they sold like quicker than every other piece of merch, and then more people wanted it, and like it just kind of became a thing, and then I just started using it more and more, and now it just kind of has became like the symbol or the logo of Hellripper. And yeah, so it was a good accident. It was a happy accident to happen.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's admirable that you've got that relationship with your band, because not with your band, sorry, with your fans. Because I think it's so important to kind of keep that community aspect. Because I feel like in a way it's kind of been lost when it comes to metal in a way. Because you know, like you look back in the old days, and a lot of ways that people used to find albums and stuff like that was having that little community of people that also like the same music as you, with tape trading and stuff like that. Like, I think that it's very good that you've got that relationship with your fans, that you've kind of created a bigger community for it.
Yeah, I think it's as well with the internet. I mean, scenes are not just like a local thing now. Scenes are like a global thing. So whereas you'd have like before, like the Swedish death metal and Norwegian black metal or whatever like that, now it's kind of like there's like a black metal scene or something, or like online and stuff. And it was very like especially like in the black speed metal punk kind of community, there's like it's like a scene, a little community in itself, like the metal punk death squad and kind of like all that kind of stuff. And me, like especially me right now, I live nowhere near any shows will happen when things are happening, and I live a couple of hours from like the nearest local scene, really. So yeah, it's like a way of being part of a scene without being part of a local kind of scene, if you know what I mean. Probably awful wording, but yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like I think the internet's like really improved how like people can sort of create scenes, and you know, like the community aspect of it. I think that it's like you look back at like back in the day, if you wanted to get a feature from someone, you had two options: call the management on the phone if you could get the phone number, or fly out to the country where they are and meet them, and then go, can you do a feature? And then bring the tape back over with you, and then get the guy to put it on it. Like,
yeah, and it's like now I've been lucky to speak to like people that like I'm a fan of bands, and I've been able to speak to them just by like supporting them. Like whereas before you would have to send handwritten letters and stuff, you know, like the underground scene, and trade tapes and stuff. Now I can just go online. One of my favorite bands, I can just like message them, say I really like your new album or whatever, or I'll share a picture with their t-shirt or some shit, and then you speak to the bands and all that. So it's like, yeah, you can get involved in that way as well, which I think is.
I think it became like quite evident for me and Nathan as well, like when we started doing interviews on the podcast, because we always thought, oh, no band's ever going to want to come on, or no one's going to respond. But then you just say, fuck it, I'll just send out a message and see what happens. And then we managed to speak to a lot of bands that we're massive fans of.
Yeah.
So, and it's so much easier. Don't have to back in the day send like a carrier pigeon to go get someone on that you like. You can just message them, say you guys interested if they've got free time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing. Like, yeah, and especially right now when there's no shows or anything happening, so people's schedules are less busy. So yeah, you can. Yeah, it's just crazy. I like speaking to like bands that I've admired or bands that I like from all over, from like the USA or Germany or whatever. Like that I would never have dreamed of like speaking to, and they're just like a message away on Instagram or Facebook or something. Yeah, it's so cool.
That's what's great about it. Like, there's been times where we've interviewed people and like, we've told our friends about it and who are also like massive fans of them and being like, how did you even get them? It's like, it's easy and think, just DM them. Yeah. Like, it's so easy. Just DM them and then they respond. It's literally great. I don't have to speak to anyone's manager or anything like that. I just DM them. You want to come on? Yeah. Sound. What day are you free? It's literally so easy. Like, and it's so amazing how responsive everyone is.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, yeah, down. It's literally like that community sense of
that's so
everyone's
cool.
wanting to help each other.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. One thing I want to ask is what kind of got you into heavy music? What was your starting point?
Heavy music, I think I've always been into like music in general. When I was a kid, I think like I got into music. I heard the Beatles. We had to do something at school, like sing a Beatles song in primary school or something when I was like 5 or 6 or something. And I really liked the Beatles, and I asked my dad, like, "Oh, have you ever heard of the Beatles?" He was like, "Yeah." So
it's like suddenly kind of a big deal.
Yeah. So I ended up like listening to like Beatles kind of stuff, and I got into like the whatever was like going on in the charts at the times, like whatever pop music or whatever. So that kind of stuff. And then as I got older, my uncle had a vinyl collection that he kept at my grandma's, and he had all sorts of stuff. Like I went to look through them one day just to see what it was. I knew he was into like rock music, but I didn't really know what like rock and metal was. And like I discovered he had like Motorhead, Judas Priest, Dio, Ozzy, Sabbath, Discharge, and all that kind of stuff. And I think that kind of put that kind of stuff like into the back of my mind. And I kind of discovered more of it as the years went on, and I heard Metallica and Justice for All and Peace Sells by Megadeth. And that got me into heavy music. Like from there I ended up getting into like all the thrash bands and then the heavier bands like Cannibal Corpse, and then you go into like more underground stuff. But when I was getting into things, again, the internet was a big help.
Yeah.
When I got into metal around, I think it was like 2008, 2009, something like that. And that is when there was both a new wave of thrash happening, and there was like a new wave of traditional metal happening as well. So like I'd be listening to a Metallica song or something, and then on the related videos, you'd get, say, a band like Evil or Warbringer or something. And from there, I just ended up like going through all these related videos like on YouTube and discovering all these new bands that were like new at the time, like Warbringer, Evil, Havoc, Toxic Holocaust, then things like Steelwing, Enforcer, Skullfist, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the internet was definitely a big help in getting me further into heavy metal music from there. Then from there, of course, you get into all the progress into like death metal, black metal, extreme kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And so, what about your guilty pleasures? And do you have anything that would kind of shock people that you like listen to?
Nothing really a guilty pleasure. I mean, it's just music. I listen to a lot of different stuff. Loads of different metal, non-metal kind of stuff. Nothing that I would really call guilty pleasures. I don't really see that as a thing.
Yeah, I'm glad you said the Beatles though. I fucking love the Beatles.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely love them. I adore them.
Yeah. Favorite still.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the Beatles, we wouldn't have got Black Sabbath.
Yeah, I mean Ozzy's like favorite band of all time. Like.
Yeah, well, have you ever watched that interview he did where it's like what inspired you to get into music? And he described walking down the high street and he saw on the TV the Beatles and they were playing it through the speakers outside.
Okay.
And he walked up and he saw it and he said he had never heard something like it ever. And he said, I want to do that. And that's literally when he decided to become like a vocalist.
Yeah.
And that's why we've got Black Sabbath.
Yeah, there's that video. Have you seen the video online of him meeting Paul McCartney for I think it's the first time.
Yeah, well, he's like proper fangirling.
Yeah, and he's
proper going crazy.
It's like, he's like in shock. He doesn't know what to do and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's so cool.
It's crazy how you'd think like the Beatles wouldn't inspire like probably the first heavy metal band like you could classify, but it's crazy because it did.
Yeah. I think it's difficult to like comprehend now because we're used to so many things, like comparing the Beatles to something now, like but when there was like nothing that came before all that kind of stuff. I mean, like the Beatles and like Jimi Hendrix and stuff, like no one really had played guitar like Jimi Hendrix or whatever. Now you see like a million people on YouTube doing like a similar sort of thing. But like, if you saw those guys like in the 60s when that didn't exist, yeah, I don't know how you would react. It would just be like, what is going on? Like,
yeah. Well, it's like even guitar. So I remember in the first lockdown last year, I bought a guitar and I started learning. And I was learning, chord progressions and stuff like that. And I remember talking to one of my friends who's also he's a guitarist, and I was saying, you know what? I'm happy that I've got the internet and this stuff's already been written down. Like I said, I can't imagine the first guy that ever came up with a chord progression, or like, do you know what I mean? Like, or a scale, like the pentatonic scale. Like, who the fuck wrote that down?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like...
Yeah. It's again, the internet was a big help in like me learning guitar, like with tabs and stuff. Like, of course, however long ago you need to listen by ear and learn by ear or get someone to teach you something. When I was like starting to learn guitar, it was as easy as either going on YouTube, finding a guitar tutorial, or looking at like guitar tabs of someone that's already figured out how to play it, and you kind of just do that, which again is an advantage in helping you learn, but again, maybe my ear isn't as good as I'd like it to be for like recognizing songs and stuff, like how to play songs.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy to think about because like I think we're so privileged in the way that we can literally go how to play guitar. There's like 100 YouTube videos on how to do it, and we can learn like if you watch I watched like loads of like documentaries on like blues and stuff like that, and like how they talk about how they learn. It's like, oh, we used to go to blues bars, and then we'd hope what the musician that we liked would teach us, and we'd go and ask him, and they say either fuck off or yeah.
Yeah.
And he said in that, you'd literally sit on your porch for like days on end going duh, 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 until you finally thought something sounded good.
Yeah.
That's how much it's changed.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
And now we're just sat there going duh, 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 how to play guitar. Right, there we go, pentatonic scale, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, when I was like first learning stuff, I would just type in like whatever song I wanted to learn. And there was like a million guitar lessons, like tutorials, and that's how I learned like Sweet Home Alabama. I learned that. That was one of the first songs I learned. That was from a guitar tutorial online on YouTube. That kind of stuff. Yeah, it's definitely, again, another convenience.
Yeah, definitely, because I can't imagine like learning it in the old days where it's like you just had to sit there. It's like Dimebag Darrell apparently learned just by sitting there and like figuring it out. And it's like, what? Like
Yeah.
the amount of patience you need. Because like I'll follow videos and sometimes I feel like smashing my guitar up. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, I just can't get it right.
Yeah. I
And
remember when I was like first getting into metal, because I'd learned like classic rock and like kind of simple riffs and stuff, and then when I got into metal, I wanted to learn For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is like, I mean, it's a relatively simple song, like in kind of metal standards or Metallica standards or whatever. It's not extremely difficult, but like I never done like kind of pan mute type stuff and doing all these like crazy power chord type things, and then the little like the lick at the start for Bell Tolls. I remember going over that for absolutely ages. I could not get that right, and yeah, that I can remember feeling like that, like getting so pissed off, frustrated, and everything. Like thinking this is like one of their slower songs. Like if I want, like, what if I want to learn Master of Puppets or something? Like this is going to be so difficult.
It is really not like learning guitar is just so frustrating. Like with palm muting, there's just such an act to it because if you palm mute the notes too much, it sounds flat. If you do it too much, it's not palm muted.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, it's really annoying. Like you just got to get it right, and it's all this little trial and error shit.
Yeah, I can remember. Yeah, I can remember like that time of like, I'm glad that I'm not in at that stage anymore. I'm glad I can like play guitar somewhat well, because I remember learning, and I'm not a patient person really. And I can remember learning, and I remember how annoyed I was, and just how pissed off I would get like trying to learn like like one riff or something, and I couldn't get it, and you've got to just keep doing it over and over again, and that's not my favorite. I do not like doing that. So
yeah. I think the worst part about learning is like when you've got friends who are musicians, and you're like, I've been trying to learn this fucking riff and I just can't do it. Like, and then they just blast it out like it's fucking note, and you're like, you bastard. Like that's what really annoys me. Like, because a lot of my friends like guitarists, vocalists, drummers, and stuff like that. Like, so like you tell them, oh, I'm struggling with this, and they go, oh, that's fucking easy, that, like, and then they'll just send you a video to dig it in a little bit, saying, yeah, I know how to do this.
Yeah, I remember seeing people like when I was in school. I remember people playing like crazy stuff, like, and it made it look easy. So I'd be like, oh, guitar's quite easy. I can easily learn all these crazy songs like with no problem or whatever. And like these people are playing like I can't even think. But for example, I remember someone playing like "Stairway to Heaven" or something, and they made it like look so easy. It looked very doable and stuff. And of course, when you first start learning a guitar, that's not the song to be playing. Like
yeah.
So yeah,
It's like I've only just got the hang of trem picking.
yeah.
Only just kind of got the hang of that. But I still need to work on my left hand with actually switching notes. So like my right hand's pretty good with like speed and trem picking. Like picking hand's great. Actual dexterity in my left hand with actually choosing the notes is awful.
Yeah,
Because it can't do it quick enough.
yeah, that was the same with me. That's my problem. When I was like learning guitar and getting into metal, my friend Mark, who played lead guitar in the first live lineup of Hellripper, he went to my school. He was one of my best friends at school, so we were like learning guitar or playing guitar together, and he was like a lead guitar player. Like he could play like Paul Gilbert and stuff, like ridiculous kind of stuff. and we were like trying to start bands together, and I had never learned any lead guitar or anything. And because he could already play like Megadeth and Marty Freeman type stuff and Paul Gilbert and like crazy stuff, I thought, well, I'll just focus on rhythm guitar. So so I got like I built up my picking hand and could downpick stuff and try and pick quite fast and stuff. But when it came to guitar solos, like I was useless. And then when I done Hellripper as a solo project, yeah, I had to figure out how to write a guitar solo and play a guitar solo and stuff like that. So if you listen to like the first few Hellripper things, there's either not as many solos or the solos are a lot less complex, because I was still like in the process of learning how to be a lead guitar player. I mean, I'm still nowhere near up to the level of like some stuff like Megadeth and stuff. I can't play a lot of that stuff, but yeah, I've got to a point where for Hellripper I can write lead guitar parts that work and sound cool. But yeah, that was difficult after never having practiced lead guitar. And I could like, for example, I could play like, I don't know, like Master Puppets or whatever, like a Metallica or a Megadeth song, like on rhythm guitar. But then when I went to actually have to play lead guitar for myself, I basically went back to that stage of frustration and getting annoyed, because it was basically like learning something, like learning guitar again, like for me.
Yeah, that's why I've got so much respect for like guitarists who can do both lead and rhythm.
Yeah.
Like our guitarist Jordan, he can do both, and it's like crazy to see, because he's like he can do leads very easily, and he's like, if he needs to switch up to, because he's our only guitarist, so he's had to just learn that skill. Do you know what I mean? So he's just like, oh, it's just come second nature now. So I'm having to do it all myself.
Yeah. I mean, I've just kind of like had to kind of grow into doing lead guitar parts. But like I say, since I'm in charge of writing the lead guitar parts, it's like I don't need to. Like, I write stuff that I can play, so I don't need it. So it's easier for me to, of course, play stuff that I write rather than other people's stuff. Because it's like what naturally comes to me or whatever, rather than playing Megadeth solos or something like. Yeah.
So like outside of music then, what would you say your hobbies and interests? Like what do you do for fun when you're not in Hellripper?
It's mainly music, to be honest. Mainly playing guitar. Watching football occasionally whenever it's on. That's about it really. Most of what I do is like music related. Either playing guitar or listening to music or watching documentaries about music or something like that. It's mostly music related, to be honest.
I think like when you're in a band as well, you know, it kind of takes up most of your time, I imagine. So like, you know, all your focus is on to doing your band and producing your music, listening to music for more influence. Like it all kind of has a domino effect, really.
Yeah, basically, Hellripper is basically, or music is most of my day. Like my daily routine kind of is about the same. Like I listen to new music while packing orders to send, or listen to like podcasts and stuff like that. That's how I get new music in, and then I go to the post office and listen to music, come back, write some music and deal with all that kind of stuff. And so like I say, like the Hellripper, it is time consuming, so that is what takes up most of my time, but I enjoy it, so I've got no complaints at all.
Yeah, I think the craziest part about music is, I think going into it, everyone always underestimates how much work it actually is. Like, it is a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a moment where you can sit down and go, I'll just leave the music for like 5 minutes. You know, I'll do something else. It's like, I know from experience, like how much work goes into it. Like, there's not a day where the band chat's not going off with someone going, can someone do this? Can someone do that? Are we meeting up on the weekend so we can do this? Are we doing that? Are we doing it? It's like, it's constant. Literally, it is like a full-time job. It's like running your own business.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. I guess some people might think it's just like write and record and stuff, but yeah, there's all the behind the scenes stuff that you've got to do to keep things going. Yeah,
It's like what I always used to say to people at work when they'd ask about it, and they go, "Oh, it's pretty cool though. You just get to write something and then release it in it." I'm like, no. I was like, music, working in music or trying to be in a band is literally 10% music, 90% marketing.
yeah,
So I've got to do all that. We've got to do all the marketing ourselves. So we need to like look at. You actually end up becoming like a fucking marketing expert because you're like, okay, let's look at who's my target audience. Who am I going to do this for? Yeah, it's literally becomes like that.
yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
But I mean, the good thing is I mean, I enjoy it. So it's like I work that I enjoy. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the good
I
side.
think that's the benefit of it because it's like when you've got a genuine passion for something, you don't mind working for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like when we do the podcast, it's a lot of work, but we genuinely are passionate about it.
yeah,
So we just do it. It's like it don't feel like work to us
Yeah,
at
like
all, really.
I always look forward to it in the week. I'm pretty sure Nathan's the same. Like,
Yeah.
especially right now when there's like nothing else to do. Can't go to any bars. I can't go to any gigs. Like waiting for the podcast is like the enjoyment of the week, even though it is a lot of work to edit and make sure that you're posting every week at the same time. Like, doing the actual conversations and when it's all like published and you're watching it, like, oh, yeah, I feel not only a sense of accomplishment, but also like you enjoy the conversations as well.
yeah. And like you put the work in because you enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you could upload the podcasts like with like bad quality or like bad editing or whatever, or skip weeks, take little breaks and stuff because you can't be bothered and stuff. But yeah, you put the work in because you enjoy it. If it wasn't like hard work, yeah, I guess you want it to be the best it can be because you like it, you enjoy it, you want it to be the best that can be. So
Yeah. Plus, it's like so satisfying when you put a podcast episode out and like you see, even if it doesn't get that many views, like if you see one person comment, "I really enjoyed that," it's like made it all worth it. It literally did. It does make it all worth it because we put out an episode and someone went, "Oh, this is one of my favorite bands. I've been waiting to see an interview with them for ages. Thank you. Keep up the podcast work." And it was kind of like, it validates what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's a cool feeling. Like when that kind of shit happens. Yeah.
Yeah, knowing someone picked up on what you've put out to the universe, found it, and then liked it, and have subscribed to you, or like downloaded one of your tracks, or like bought something from you. It's like fucking nice. It's just such a nice feeling.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. What's like your funniest tour story then? What's like one of the funniest tour memories you've got?
Funniest tour memory. I mean, we've only done one tour, so it's I'm trying to think. A couple from the same show. We played the pre-party of Roadburn Festival, 2019, and we got the tour, like we got taken around the venue, shown where like the dressing rooms were and all that, and where to put all our stuff and all that. So we got shown all that, and then we had to go and find a parking space, like drive the car to get a parking space somewhere near the venue. So we left the bassist Clarky in charge of like looking after our stuff and all that, and kind of staying at the venue to like see if anything happened, like if they needed us for some reason. So we went to find the parking space. We came back like 10-15 minutes later, and he had locked himself out the venue. He was just sitting outside having a smoke outside the venue. And we're like, oh, so what's happened? Oh yeah, I've been out here for 50 minutes. As soon as you left, I got locked out. Like, oh, fair enough. So that was a good one. The same show. There was a guy got on stage while we were playing, and I thought he was just like stage diver or something like that. And he like, I don't know, he was on stage and he like jumped on the floor, like, and I was like, oh, whatever. So I kind of like jumped near him, like we were in the middle of a song. I kind of like jumped near him, like jumped kind of like on top of him, and then he got me in a headlock.
Oh, what?
Fucking hell.
Like, I thought like, because he'd been at the front row the whole show, like kind of enjoying himself and all that. But I think he was just drunk out of his mind. He got on stage, like fell down. I kind of like jumped next to him. He got me in a headlock, and we're still playing, and I had no idea what was going on. And then he's shouting in my ear, "Can I hit you? Like, can I hit you?" And I'm like playing a song, like it's full volume. We're playing the song, like it was one of our fastest songs as well. I'm like trying to concentrate. He's like, "Can I hit you?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Oh."
All right, thanks.
He's like, "Oh, okay then." And he's like got me in a headlock this whole time, and he's like, "Oh, okay then." And then he like let me go, and then I can't remember if like the security chucked him out or if he went away himself. I can't remember, but that was a strange one.
At least he asked permission.
Yeah, no, it was. I'm like trying to like hear what he's saying in my ear while playing guitar and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I was confused that whole time. I was like, what is going on? Again, that what else? That same tour, we were using like a car.
Mhm.
The car was like absolutely full. Like I didn't have a van yet. We thought, yeah, let's just use the car, and we had all the stuff in the car, like all the merch, all the amps, and all that type of stuff. Like the car was absolutely full, and like the car was so low that like every time we had to go over a speed bump, we had to get out the car to go over the speed bump and stuff. So that was horrible. Like we couldn't get onto the ferry to cross because like the car wouldn't go up the ramp or whatever. So we ended up having to go into like the bottom of the ferry where all the lorries and trucks went, because the car was so weighed down that we just couldn't climb anything or get over a tiny little bump. So there was like a street in Holland, Netherlands, which was just a street full of speed bumps. Like I don't know, there must have been like 10 speed bumps. It was shit. So we had to get out the car. The car drove up the street, and we had to like walk behind the so I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. That was funny but annoying.
Imagine. So yeah, we are coming to the end of the interview now. One thing that we'd like to end on is just like, what advice would you give to, I guess, someone starting a solo project like yourself, and what advice would you give to yourself, to a young person just starting Hellripper for the first time?
I think my advice would be, do it because you want to. Make sure that you enjoy the process of making music, as opposed to doing it for any other reason, like to impress people or money or whatever else. And if you're actually starting it, I would advise, which is very beneficial, to learn how to do as much things, different things by yourself, whether it be recording, the mixing, graphic design, the marketing, learn how to like write like proper emails and all that type of stuff, because that can help you so much, especially for example like graphic design. If you can do graphic design and you can make like Facebook banners or Instagram photos or like promo poster type things, that can save you a lot of money that you can spend elsewhere, like to invest in like other parts. I wish I had learned how to do like basic graphic design a lot earlier than I learned how to do it. It took me a while to actually do it. Yeah, I think just try and learn as much things as you can that will help you. Because if you can't do anything and you need to like outsource everything, it'll get expensive, or you won't get like good results if you do it yourself with no knowledge or whatever. So I guess, yeah, costs mount up for getting other people to record, mix, and master your stuff. And if you're also paying someone to create graphics for you, album art for you, of course, all the costs mount up and they add up. So if you can do just one of those things to save a bit of money, you can spend it elsewhere on like where you need it, I would say.
Mm.
DIY. That's
Yeah.
the way to go. Yeah, thank you so much for the chat. It was amazing. Luckily, I mean, Nathan will get to see you this year because he's going to Damnation. I sadly didn't get a ticket in time, so I won't be able to go. But yeah, it's been amazing chatting with you. I hope that I'll see you again. If you come back to the UK for like a full UK tour, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, man. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, amazing new album. I'll be cranking that for the next few weeks as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on. Take care.
Cheers for coming on, man.
From the womb of hell, will the outer reflection see light. The candles blood blinded the